out together for 2 years now. 2 years we have been doing this together. And I just want to take you down that road just for a hot second, because I'm going to tell you right now, if you are just now hearing this for the first time, if you were like, I don't know about this LifeWave stem cell activation patch or whatever thing, right? Okay, whatever. 2 years ago, when I found out about this, I was instantly like, yes, stem cell activation patch, non-transdermal, I'll take this immediately for my child. There was no question in my mind. Not one. Not a single question like, is this safe? I don't know. Are McDonald's French fries safe? No. There was no question in my mind whether or not this patch was safe or not. Instantly, I knew this was what I needed for my child. Okay? For my child. This is what I needed for my special needs child in a wheelchair. This is what I had been praying for years, 15 years, okay? I'll be honest with you. Immediately, I thought of my friend Laura. Laura had cured herself of stage 3 breast cancer with 0 medications, 0 chemotherapy, 0 radiation. She goes, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this right. And I'll never forget that conversation you and I had, Laura. I was driving down the interstate the day you called me, and you're like, I'm not telling anybody at my immediate family, but here's what's going on, and here's the route I chose. And I said, I support you 100% in all of that, completely, right?
Yep.
Because I had been down that road with my child, so I understand. And she said that day, I said, Laura, I have found a technology that literally signals your body to activate its own stem cells. There is an event, like the owner of this tech is speaking in 4 days. Can you come with me? And she's like, yeah, but actually, to be honest with you, I bought her a ticket. I didn't even ask her first.
Before you asked me.
I was like, hey, I got you a ticket, so you're coming with me. And I want you to hear about this because this is revolutionary. And Laura said yes instantly. Why did you say yes, Laura?
You know what? That's hard. That's a hard answer. That's a hard question to answer. I would say number one, because I know you and I trust you. And I know if you've got your eyes on something, I know there's reason and purpose to look at it, without a shadow of a doubt. Doing what I did and being part of the regenerative medicine arena, I knew it's something that I couldn't turn my head on, that I owed it to myself to take a look at what I was going to listen to. And neither you nor I knew what we were walking into. Like, you had seen the patch in a practitioner's office. You knew what it did, stem cells, which ignited your brain. And it was like, I got to go. Well, if Staci's going, I'm going. Right? Yes. Number one, because of Staci. Number two, because of what I accomplished. And I had a front row seat to how powerful the body is when you supply it with the tools that it needs to do the things that it is supposed to be doing anyway. Yeah. Like, we don't have to acknowledge not having the tools. We just need to provide the tools. And that's what we discovered that day when we walked in that room.
We did.
Yeah,
so much more. We sat in the front.
We did. We sat in the front row.
We took notes and we were like, whoa, is this seriously happening right now? Yeah. We were mind blown. And I'm going to tell you what, you guys, next weekend in Tampa, Laura and I are hosting an event with over 850 people. Yeah. Okay. The event we went to was 250. And I looked around that room and I thought, I'm the youngest person in this room.
Yeah.
The average age was 80. I'm like, wow, we have our hands on something huge right now. And here we are 2 years later looking at 850 people in a room meeting together next Saturday, May 20th. Why? Because this is huge, you guys. This is not something that's like, I don't know. Is this real? Is this possible? There's nothing to debate. We are 20 years in clinical studies. We are not 2020 BS, Fauci, ouchie, clinical study BS stuff, okay? We are 20 years in clinical studies and research and data and science, double-blind placebo. Please go to startx39now.com. Look at all the clinical studies. That's why I am where I am right now with this company, because of the facts, the data. What's happening to people in their life is absolutely life-changing. So what is that? What is happening for people? Why are Laura and I so fired up 2 years later, more than we were 2 years ago? 2 years ago, we didn't really even know what we had our hands on. Today we do. We're like, oh my God, this is our holy grail of healing. This is our ticket to longevity, to vitality, to prevention, you guys. You just heard me talk about Laura with her issues. I had no issues, none, and I still don't have any. For me, this is about vitality and longevity. This is about prevention. And when I'm like pointing here, this is your heart. You only have one heart. That's it. At the end of the day, you do not get to pick, right? You don't get to pick what happens in your heart. I mean, and at the end of the day, let's be honest, you have a choice in your choices, in your health, in your food, in your stress, in your lifestyle, right? Okay. But I'm telling you, when you look at your heart, man, this is the most important thing in your life. Okay. You know that, right? This is it. And so when you look at longevity and vitality and wellness, it is so important to look at regenerative medicine. And if you haven't Googled regenerative medicine yet, please do. It's so important that you understand we are either degenerative diseases, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's, dementia. You look at those top 5, or you look at regenerative medicine, which is where Laura and I are, right? Yeah. We're in wellness. We're in healing the body in an all-natural, healthy way. This is what this technology does. That's why we are so fired up about this today. 2 years later, we are 2 years into using these patches. Look at Laura. The girl's 60 years old. Like, we have no filters on our screen. That's what 60 looks like.
There's no fading in the background here. It's
we have no real fake makeup. I'm in a cabin on a cruise ship in the middle of the ocean right now. There's no fading or fake like anything. This is it. We are the real people. We are, because of using these patches. Inside is our anti-aging game. Yeah. What happens on the inside is a direct reflection of what's happening on the outside. So, Laura, I would love for you to share with them why X39 stem cell activation patch was your number one priority 2 years ago for you, and what you had went through with stage 3 breast cancer. Yeah. Why was this your number one thing? And then I want to talk to you about the other 2 things you picked after that. But why was this number one thing?
You know, Staci, I'm sitting here listening to you talk about that day we walked into the room. And I think the thing is that we have a lot of guests on here tonight that are here for all different reasons. And when you take you and I, and we walked in that room, kind of like everybody's here sitting here tonight, we were there. Yes, I had a past journey, right? Staci's looking at this now as longevity because she's always wanted to get stem cells, but she did not feel that she could do that because she is pouring into her daughter Taylor financially and getting her all different modalities of stem cells that she can think of, literally traveling all over the world. So here, two people walk in that room with really three reasons. Staci, longevity, me, because I walked a journey, even though I was still healed 4.5 years later when I walked into that room. And then she had sweet Taylor, right? That she wanted to give everything in the world to her. So we walked into that room just like you guys are being here today and listened to this stem cell technology of X39 stem cell activation patch. And I knew at that moment, and Staci's going to touch on a few things later, that be able to provide my body with a tool of that magnitude. I knew at that moment that I had come across a technology, a tool for me personally, where my body would not be compromised again, because I had the ability to support it in the way that it was supported when I was in my 20s and 30s. And you guys know, think back in your 20s and 30s. You didn't think about any of the things that you're thinking about now, right? You didn't think about getting sick. You didn't think about your energy levels. You felt great. You looked great. You just rolled, right? That's what this technology is providing where you are in the stage of life now. It gives you the ability over time, depending on what you have, to live that life of energy, longevity, clarity, right? To live that life. And I knew at that moment, listening to David Schmidt, the inventor and scientist behind this technology, this company might be 20 years old, you guys, but this technology is 20 years ahead of its time, right? It's cutting edge. And when Staci and I sat in that room, we were like, oh my God. It was just like one mind-blowing thing after the other, until David started talking. And Staci, I know you're going here now, about two other patches that really made me stand up in my seat. And I think the first one, Staci, you want to touch on is probably Eon.
Oh, absolutely, Laura. But Laura, I need you to look, wait a minute.
Okay, wait, did I not go into depth enough?
Take your glasses off. Girl, look at her. Is this 60?
Yeah. Well, Staci, you know, every 6 months on this patch, the technology, the stem cell activation patch, every 6 months of using this patch, your body reverses its cellular age by 8 years. And it doesn't pick and choose cells, you guys. It's an overall wellness of reversing the actual cellular age of the body. Now, if you guys are like me, the first time that I heard that, I'm like, yeah, right. I'm going to test the theory, right? So as Staci and I told you, we've been patching for like 2 years. It'll be 2 years in May for both of us. Yeah. And about 6 months ago, I got my blood work done.
Hey!
Right? I'm going to test the theory, right? You say something like that to me, I'm going to test it out, right? Yeah. And I know many of you feel the same way. So I go and get my blood work done like I do on occasion, right? All of us do that. Yep. And I'm sitting across the table from my doctor. And I said, Dr. Jackie, I know you know how old I am. My chart's right in front of you. However, I want you to tell me, how old does my blood work tell you I am? How is the inside of my body functioning? I might be 60. Those two numerals, 60, all good, right? I don't care. What's important to me is, how is my inside functioning? Because whatever's happening on the inside is going to be showing on the outside. I don't have to worry about that. Right. And when she looked at my blood work and said, you know, Laura, I think you're clipping around 33, 34. I was like, sign me up. Right? Like, I'm on this for forever. But Staci, you know, being on this patch, people have options. And through all of David Schmidt's clinical studies, you guys, he has determined a brilliant rule of thumb that works for all of us, which is 1 month's use for every decade of life, for every 10 years, for you to attain total cellular rejuvenation, regeneration, repair, and healing. Now, please let me remind you, that's all dependent on what you've got going on, right? So I'm 60. I could have stopped at 6 months and I would have totally hold on to all that healing and repair and regenerative of healing that I received. I'm not going to turn into a pumpkin because I decided to stop at 6 months, right? I get to hold on to all that. My body has proven that to me. But if you choose to stop, the only thing that does happen is the aging process from that point forward will begin again, right? And so I don't want that. I don't want to stop. I want to keep on supporting my body, just like Dr. Staci does, and like many of the people on here. So you have a choice, but my choice is to continue on because I want to live a life of health, wellness, and longevity. And like Dr. Stan says, a part of our team, I would rather go out with my boots on than a diaper. All right. So I steal that, Stan, if you're on, because it's a brilliant phase to kind of wrap all this up in a tight little bow. But you know, I was mind blown. And today, when I sit here and talk about it out loud, Staci, it happened. We're mind blown. We get so caught up and so excited about it that honestly, we can't shut up.
You know what? And Laura, I'm just going to say this again, girl. And if there's anybody on here that thinks different, I think you're crazy. You need glasses, right? But girl, you do not look 60. And I
do not feel it.
I have known you for 15 years. You are younger now than you've ever been.
I would agree. I would totally agree with that.
And
when I go back in my Facebook and I see pictures, I'm like, oh my God.
What?
Yeah, there's a big difference.
I look at pictures of myself and I'm like, oh my God, what was going on? Right? Yeah. I mean, seriously.
Well, Staci, you're 48 right now. Mm-hmm. I'm 60. You guys, you know this. That's not a small difference. But you can see age doesn't matter here. Mm-mm. Okay.
No.
And this technology is about bringing the body back in balance. That's how David designed the technology, whether it's the X39 stem cell activation packs that you're going to hear a little bit more about, or maybe the supporting patches that I'm sure we'll bring up because you've got many questions and we want to get to those. But the whole game here is to bring the body back in balance, back into homeostasis. So your body using this, a lot of question. I'm going to answer a question, Staci, that I know we're going to get. I'm on medications. Is it going to take my body too far in that one direction? Am I going to over exceed the levels in which I need to be? Whatever it is, never. Using this technology, your body is going to never exceed or underperform. You're going to be brought back into balance. And you guys, here's the thing. We have been conditioned to think that that is not possible. And many of the symptoms that a lot of you and people out there are dealing with is not because there's a major issue. It's because the body is out of balance. And lupus might show up, or fibromyalgia might show up, or IBS might show up. It's an imbalance of the body. Mm-hmm. We're here just to balance you out. That's it. And it's a beautiful thing because we don't want you walking around in managerial mode, respectfully so, that the pharmaceutical industry might put you in my opinion. Okay. Mm-hmm. We want you to be healed, regenerated, rejuvenated, and repaired. Because each human being, and this is David's words, deserves to live that life until your time, wherever that is.
And according to David, he says, barring any major life accident, we should live to be 130 plus years old. We know the oldest woman on the planet right now is over 122. So what is she doing that we're not? What's happening in her life that's not in ours? And David's figured that out. And it's stem cell regeneration. And it's with the simple little baby looking quarter size Band-Aid patch. So if you're a guest here tonight, this is a non-transdermal patch. This is what Laura and I have been talking about for the last 25 minutes. This is what has radically changed our lives in the last 2 years. It is not a screen or a filter or a whatever they put on the Zooms that make you look fake. We are really, really here as who we are, using this little round Band-Aid, this little round stem cell activation patch that signals our body to do what it did when we were younger. This is a non-transdermal patch. You're familiar with transdermal patches: pain patch, nicotine, birth control, estrogen patch. You put it on your body, a chemical, a substance, and whatever enters your body and is supposed to make something happen. That's not what this is. What Laura and I have been talking about is a patch that actually activates your body's own stem cells using your body's heat or light that you emit. If you put your hand on your chest right now, you're about 98.6-ish, right? We're out here in the Bahamas today, so it was a little hotter than that. So you may be close to 100 if you're down in Florida like Laura and I are, but whatever. So around 98.6 degrees, right? That's what our body emits. We know that because if I were to open my blinds right now, I can't see anything out there in the ocean. Unless I was looking through night vision goggles, then if there happened to be any, Loch Ness monsters or anything out there, right?
In the sea.
Anything out there in the sea, I couldn't see any of it unless I was looking through night vision goggles. Then I would see the heat being emitted from the person or animal out there. That is the heat, the body heat that this patch works with. So if I apply this patch to my body, my heat reflects back a very specific wavelength of light from the patch. Embedded in the patch is what David Schmidt has invented. You heard Laura talk about David. Genius. Please Google David Schmidt. The man is genius. StartX39now.com if you have not Googled him yet, or research the science and technology behind this patch. But what David has invented is that white part right there. Embedded in that is a crystal lattice structure. That is a proprietary blend of organic amino acids, oxygen, sugars, water. That combination, that lattice structure formed together. When you put this on your body, your heat reflects back off of that lattice structure a specific wavelength of light. That wavelength of light signals a peptide in your body. We're young. An abundance of it. It's GHKCU copper peptide. I'm sure Leah's going to put this in the chat for me. Reverse aging with GHK.com. I love you, Leah. Thank you. She's always like, yes, girl, I got you. Right? We are a team. You guys, we're a team working together to do all this together. But I'm telling you what, if you research Dr. Lauren Picard, that's where David started over 15 years ago. Dr. Lauren Picard has 50 years clinical studies and research and the benefits of elevating your own GHKCU copper peptide. And so when you put this patch on, it actually elevates your own copper peptide level, elevates it back to its young, youthful, healthy state. Elevating it resets a third of your genes. I don't know if you guys understand the magnitude of that, Laura.
Here's the thing, Staci, about that. And I love that you've gotten to this point, because a lot of it, I didn't know this. That day I sat in the room with David, I didn't know this, but, or I never thought about it. I wasn't asked to think about this ever. But, you guys, we're born with an abundant amount of stem cells. we started out in utero as a stem cell. That's how important they are, right? By the time we're 30, 35, we have about half of what we were born with. Now, we've got an array of ages on here this evening, but I think everybody can remember back at 30, 35 and start remembering the little things. Back then, you might not have thought about them, but now you're going to think about them, right? Maybe pains, little teeny pains started coming up that you never had before, okay? Maybe you weren't sleeping as well. You started developing monkey mind a little bit, right? You know, I know for women, come on, y'all, let's face it, you got in the mirror and you started doing this, right? That happened at about 30, 35, right? The aging process is now becoming a visual thing for you, even though it's been happening since you turned 25. Okay. Then as we go through the years after 30, 35, by the time we get 60, right? 60, you might have 10% showing up in the bloodstream. Well, my gosh, what happened from 35 to 60? And if you look at the people around you, this is where you started seeing the things start to show up. Whether they were little things, I don't think pain is a little thing. I think pain can be debilitating and it's exhausting. Okay. But let's talk about some other things. Earlier in the conversation, we mentioned lupus, fibromyalgia, and then Staci started mentioning the top 5: cardiovascular disease, dementia, Alzheimer's, cancer, Parkinson's. Okay, I don't need to sit here. We all know the list. We've all seen it or been involved with it, or it's personally affected us in some way, right? Our stem cells are there. They were a God-given gift to heal, regenerate, and repair. But because of time, because of the aging process, the GHK-Cu, or the copper peptide, if you will, starts to diminish. In return, the production of stem cells diminishes. And the ones you have, God, Jesus, they're tired. They're tired. They go dormant and they can't do their job. So this is just giving the body the ability to do what it did when it was younger. And there is not a gosh darn thing wrong with that, because we all want to be healthier. We all want to have energy. We all want to look our best. We want to